What's up, guys? Today I have a little build to share with you guys. I built a little something and I'm gonna show you that little something. It's the DVD logo bouncing around on a screen, changing color every time it hits one of the sides. Now you might notice this is a little bit arbitrary. It's not exactly moving in any straight lines. It kind of has weird effects. I'm just using thrusters sliding around. Oh, did that count as a quarter hit? Got pretty close. Oh, not quite a corner hit. It seems to curve a little bit too. So the way that this works is it's actually just a huge chunk of ice, and there's a small module in the back that's doing all the work. This is actually not attached to the module. It's using a suspension piece. Let's just go ahead and grab it. This is the module right here. So there's no collision for the suspension piece, and that just goes through the block of ice. But the sides have this little ridge on all the sides, and that's what these sensors are on the side for. Oops, I changed the color. Oops, I changed the color. Oops. Alright, so you might notice here I'm using the gravity module to keep this thing weightless, and that's just to get this thing moving around, sliding around on the icy surface with a couple of thrusters. One for each up, down, left, right, and we have the sensors for up, down, left, right. So there's a pair of sensors in this logic, so it's going to be the horizontal motion and the vertical motion, and that's hooked up to an XOR block down here, so that if there's an odd number of sensors that are active, then it's going to be going one direction, and if it's 0 sensors active or 2 sensors active, then it's going to be going the other direction. So odd or even, it's going to be the switch that decides which direction it's actually going in. If it hits an edge, it's going to switch direction because it triggered the sensor. These sensors are in switch mode, by the way. They're in switch mode, not button mode, and only 1 block distance, so if it even gets close to the edge, it's going to register as a hit and change direction. The only reason why it would get this close to the edge anyway is if it was thrusting in this direction to begin with. So that's why I'm using the XOR logic with a couple of sensors on switch mode to go back and forth. Of course, we have a suspension glitch to keep this thing upright. So because of the suspension glitch stabilizer, it prevents it from rotating all over the place and should just bounce around. Yeah, there you go. There you go. You're doing it, little DVD buddy. Now, this is kind of a lazy solution, and this actually wasn't my first design. This is just something that I settled for because, well, I couldn't get the original design to actually work. Originally, I wanted to use pistons for this, and so I've set up a little bit of pistons right here with the smart engine and the super long pistons, just with like an example weight. I could probably just grab the module and weld it on, but just to show you why this idea wouldn't actually work with the pistons. Yeah, things get a little bit wonky as soon as you extend the pistons, and then they don't exactly retract back to where they're supposed to be. If I reset this back to 0, this one struggles at staying at 0, and it's rotating. Why is it rotating? It's a piston. So that thing's never actually going to calm down. If anything, it's only going to get worse and worse. So let's just leave it there. So that's an example of the game's wonky physics, just kind of not allowing this idea to be powered by pistons. And that's why I ended up going with thrusters with an anti-gravity module and a stabilizer in the back to keep things upright. That unfortunately results in a very arbitrary motion that's very unpredictable because you don't even know how the bounces off the walls are going to go. And this weird motion where the thrusters cause this like curve effect to happen. See, it was going pretty down and then all of a sudden it's horizontal. And that's just because of the acceleration of the thrusters and the mass that they have to push. Just because I'm curious, what happens if I have this module? Do I have it saved? Maybe I should save it first. So I am curious, what happens when you remove the stabilizer? Boop! Alright, so this thing's gonna be pretty unstable. Let's see what happens. Oh, okay. It's not thrusting where it's supposed to. Let's try to fix that. Okay. Technically, oh my god, this would be a much better DVD screensaver. The chaotic version of DVD screensavers, right here. Technically, it's still working, I guess. So I think it's pretty straightforward what I built here. This is actually a simpler design than trying to do it with pistons. But I wasn't satisfied with this. I wanted a very controlled way of moving about that logo. So I created it digitally over here with my very own TV. A 16:9 ratio, Durf brand TV. And we can go ahead here and just press the button, and then you can see it moving along, bouncing and changing color. It works in a very similar way, where it's just controlling the vertical and horizontal motion, and if it gets to the end of the screen, it changes that component of its direction. And every time it changes direction, it's going to change the color as well. So let's go ahead and show you how that works. So to set up a very simple color-changing RGB block, let's go ahead and put down one RGB block. The very first thing that we're going to do is put this RGB block in HSV mode, hue, saturation, and value. And to do that, we need a logic signal. Now, you could use a button or a switch, but I'm going to be using two logic gates like this, so that the NOR gate is just automatically on, and it's always on, never off. That's exactly what I want. I don't want to have to flick a switch to turn it into HSV mode. I just want it to start in HSV mode all the time. Now, for the color inputs, we're going to do one math block and then two counter blocks. So if we go ahead and connect them, you're going to see the RGB channels pop right up. But instead of red, green, and blue, it's going to be hue, saturation, and value. So let's go ahead and set saturation and value to 1 each. And you're immediately going to see the block turn to a very vibrant red. This is full saturation and value with a hue of 0 degrees, or 360 degrees. It's a 360 degree circle. And so then that's how we're going to be using our color changing algorithm. So the very first thing that we're going to do is put a counter block up here. Bada bing, bada boom. And inside it, I'm going to put a value of 60. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we're going to connect that right into here. And that's going to be multiplying our actual inputs over here. And whatever this number is, will define the color out of 360 degrees, but in 60 degree gaps. So we're going to take the entire rainbow and split it into 6 colors. Check it out. This is the second option, is yellow, green, cyan, blue, very vibrant blue, magenta, and back to red. This is the full 360. 60 times 6 is 360. And the best part about this setup is you can just keep going. You can just keep going, and change your color. So that's what I'm using on both of these setups to change. That DVD logo's stuck, and this thing's still waving around. Whenever there's a collision with one of the walls, it just flicks a tick button to change to the next color. That's really all that it is. It's super simple to do. You can actually reduce the value in this counter block down to 30 or any other number that you want to split up. Remember, you're splitting up a 360 degree circle of rainbow color that repeats at red. So in here, I now have a value of 30, and we're going to get twice as many colors in a cycle. And see, we have orange this time, yellow, some sort of lime green, another kind of green, another kind of green, that cyan color, very bright, that sky blue, vibrant blue, purple this time, then we get magenta, then we get a hot pink before we get back to red. And this is how you can set up a very simple rainbow block, if that's what you want. See, check it out right here. We can even just put a switch on this and continuously count up. Wow, look at that thing go. I picked up the star power-up in Mario Kart. So the digital version of this is actually very similar to what I originally had planned for piston setup, except entirely digital. There's no moving parts in this one. And it works with just 2 counter blocks. And these are the coordinates from 0 to 15 for the horizontal and 0 to 8 for the vertical. It's a 16:9 ratio. Oh, we just had a corner hit and I wasn't able to look at it. But over here you can see I have 2 bits that are either going to be on or off, and these are basically acting like the sensors that just define which direction we're going in. So down here I actually have a value of -1, and up here I have a value of 2. And they're being added together depending on if these are on or off. So it's either just going to be 1 times 2 or 0 times 2. And the resulting answer in this addition block is either going to come out to be -1 or +1. And then that's what's being fed into these right here to actually affect the coordinates. These counters actually define what position on the screen they are. And every time this timer loop ticks, I can actually increase the delay here to slow down the animation. let's just go ahead and do that just to show you. We'll slow down the animation a little bit. And now it's moving slower along the screen. We'll slow it down a lot. A lot. Boop, 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 boop. Bing, bing. Anyway, so every time this timer loop ticks, it will tick in the values that this circuit defines right here. And so then that's what's going to be changing the position, either +1 or -1, along the screen. And the rest is actually pretty simple because we just get these values right here, and we're going to check if it's equal to 15 or if it's equal to 0. That's what's going to flick these bits on and off. And that's working exactly like the sensors in the other build, where it helps to change direction. So, very simple stuff, and just some more logic to say if any of this were equal to 15 or 0 or 8 or 0, then it's going to go ahead and flick this tick to change the color. Now, this color is actually brought to this RGB block up here, which is fed into this entire array of multiplication blocks. It's all being multiplied, so you can see right here the visual representation of the logic behind there. These are all AND gates. It actually works very similar to the Sudoku build that I built, where you just have a grid selector, and we have the horizontal coordinates right here, checking if it's equal to 8, equal to 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. And then you see this activated to change direction, going counting back up. So we just have a vertical and a horizontal component, and we're just checking when both of them are equal, it hones in on the coordinate, and that's the only AND gate that's going to be active. So with this active AND gate, it's going to be the only multiplication block that is active with a value of 1, which is going to be activating the color. This color is connected to every single multiplication block, but every single multiplication block is times 0, except for the one that's active. So technically this screen is displaying a full screen of color, it's just depending on which one is actually on. And that's basically how I built a digital version of a DVD logo bouncing around. Let's go ahead and speed that back up, because I know you guys want to see this bounce the corner. You want to see this being bounced on the, I broke it. Turn it off. Emergency reset. Alright. It starts off in the corner. You're gonna very quickly see the pattern here. It's actually worse if you use a perfect square, because then it would just be bouncing from corner to corner, or never bouncing in a corner since it's going in a perfect rectangular pattern. So it's actually better to have a different screen ratio where the width and height are different, so that it can actually reach another corner. One more loop around. Here we go. Here's the corner hit. Oh, and the cool part about this is you can just pause it. You can just pause it wherever it is. You can just stop it. And you want to start it up again, you can just start it up again. So this was just a little something that I built out of boredom. I'll go ahead and put this up on the workshop for those that want to take a look at this in closer detail. But that's all that I really have to share with you guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye! Wave bye to the piston. Bye! Bye, piston. Bye! Bye! I can't use you to build my screensaver, so you're going here. Bye. Chucking that concrete away. Bye.